Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. Welcome to this video where we are going to fly a very short circuit on our 777. It's not really a circuit. I got some comments that I'm using the word traffic pattern or circuit. I fully agree with you guys. This is not what we intend to do. A traffic pattern or circuit is very close to the airport. We fly it manually. This feature in FSiPanel is designed to let you fly a short flight, to have a short flight where you can practice all your checklist and your procedure. And this is why I designed this. So I will show you now that you can start this traffic pattern from the ground. So basically we are going to use all the correct procedure of the 777 for this flight today. And you will see how easy that can be. Before we start, I want to show you something. Today I'm using a beautiful scenery. I was very happy to find this scenery from Jetstream Designs, Geneva. And why am I so happy about this Geneva scenery? It's because I started my career actually in 1998 based in Geneva, and I flew in Geneva until 2011. So I was lacking such a scenario, just a scenario, sorry, with such details. It's incredible. So before we jump into the cockpit and have a look at our procedures, I would like to quickly give you a tour of that beautiful scenery, and then I will show you how you can fly this traffic pattern. All right, please subscribe to the channel, and let's jump in the air. Let's go in the air and have a look at this overall scenery. All right, here we are approaching Geneva Airport from the west, and this is so accurate. You can see here the route, which is just west of runway 05, and then if we start here, we're gonna have the TAG Aviation office here for general aviation business. Then we're gonna have here the hangars. This is Sky Guide. You can see that building here behind the hangar with the one with the antenna here. This is Sky Guide. This is air traffic control of Switzerland. Everything is over there, here and in Zurich, sorry. So that's it. You have here the Movenpick Hotel with the casino. This is the parking lot where we used to park. And then if we are going on the tarmac side, you have the EasyJet terminal right there. And then we are going for the ATC, the tower. We call it Goldorak. Have a look inside. If we can go inside, I'm not sure. Here we go. We are inside. Look at this beautiful view. You can sit here and watch all the takeoff and landings from your tower. Very nicely done. So here we are in the tower. Now if we continue our journey, we have here the 3 satellites in Geneva. You can see the one in front of you here. This is the gate 20s. And this is basically all departure to Schengen airports. So basically if you are sitting in that area, your flight is arriving or departing to Europe, Schengen airspace. If you're going to the next satellite, this one here that we see in the middle, and the next one, this is gate 30 and then gate 40s, and these are out of Schengen. So for that, there is a passport control in the middle. Down there is a traffic, a tunnel behind, and you're going to have a passport control right there. The main terminal here, we have gate 1, where Air France is sitting. Normally Air France should not be there. But anyway, this is all, again, Schengen area here until you reach gate 10, which we call Sector France. Because maybe you are aware, but Geneva Airport has a French sector. So basically you can access the airport without entering Switzerland if you are coming from France. And then you can fly internally from Geneva to Paris without any custom, basically. So here we are at gate 10. And if we continue here, after the French sector, we are getting to the gate Charlie, the new terminal here where you have the wide bodies. So usually they are all sitting right there. And we have our 777, which is ready to depart, sitting right here. Qatar Airways and Air Canada at this position. If we continue further down, we're going to have the Fire Brigade Department. You can see the aircraft, the 737, which is right there, was sitting here since I started my career. So for training purposes, it's right there. We have extra parking position at the end as well. And this building that you see right here, this is called Palexpo. and we have a lot of shows, concerts, sports arena. So this is a nice place as well. Great. So this scenery is the one which has the most details I found on Geneva. So I was really missing such a scenery, so I'm very happy. And as well, can we go inside? Let's have a look if we can go inside. Yes, we are inside. Beautiful. So here we are in the Charlie terminal with the wide-body aircraft. Not only wide-body, you will find any kind of aircraft that needs to depart out of Europe, because this is after a passport control. And our 777, our flight for today, is right there. Beautiful 777. She's here, waiting for us. We're about to board. I'm just going to show the duty-free, and then we board. So this terminal here, the new one, Gate Charlie's in Geneva. And if we go all the way down, we're going to have the passport control, and we will go into the duty-free restaurant area. So this is Charlie terminal. Now we go to duty-free via the Sector France. Now you can see that's Sector France here, which is as well very nicely depicted. And then we are going to get to the Schengen gate as well, with the where we will find all restaurant and duty-free. So now here we are. We have an exchange, that's it. And we're going to have the shops right there. You have the airline lounge upstairs, duty-free, restaurant, and now we have a very long way here to go from gate 10 to gate 1, which is all the way down here. So very nicely done. Well done from Jetstream Design. Now I will be able to fly out of Geneva with exact scenery. That looks just great. And last, you can see that if we are coming from the road here, we have the highway here, going all the way to Lausanne here, and very nice. You have the bus stop, you have the parking lot, and the main entrance to the terminal right there. Geneva. Office, and off we go. This is the apron tower. I don't know if we can go inside. Let's have a look. Yeah, this is the apron. This is where the controller that are responsible for ground movement will be sitting to control the aircraft. All right, that's about it. So this is a very nice scenery if you intend to fly a lot out of Geneva. You will not find, in my opinion, something better than that. It's just great with the details. And for once, I found that all the parking positions seems to be correct, especially this area here, which was under heavy work recently. So now this looks exactly like the real airport. All right. Let's go into our flight. We will go in the cockpit and you will see how easily we can fly a quick traffic pattern. As I said before, not a traffic pattern like you will fly VMC, but a traffic pattern set by FSiPanel where you can basically do a complete flight using your automation and do your checklist work. All right, let's go in the cockpit. All right, here we are in the cockpit of our 777. I just loaded the aircraft. As you can see, nothing has been set. And we are going to do the preparation together and do this short flight. So if you have any question at any time, drop it in the section down below and I will answer all your questions. All right, the first thing I want to do here is select the training weight. We don't need ground power. So for that, I will use fuel. And for the fuel, we don't need too much fuel for that training scenario. So let's put just 10 tons, which is way more than enough. That's good. And for the payload, we are going to load the aircraft with, let's say, 60% of load. So we have a zero fuel weight of 210 tons plus 10 tons of fuel. We are at 220 tons, which is a nice weight. Now let's start with the cockpit preparation. If we look overhead, we start with the ADRRU. So put them on. Then we're going to have to put the GPS coordinate on the FMC. We'll do that in a second. Then if we go down here, we can check that everything is in the correct position as it should be. We have the APU already running. We have everything in automatic here. The wipers are off. We go up here. We can arm the emergency light by closing the guarded switch. Then we can look that the windows, side windows, heaters are on. Then as for the hydraulic, right now everything is off for the time being. Seatbelt sign, passengers are still boarding, so we can leave the seatbelt sign off, and we make sure the electronic device can be already off. For the time being, it's nice to have them on already. And we can continue here with the lighting. So here landing lights, of course, are off. Then we go up here, we check that cargo fire, there is no discharge light that are on. We have the auto start on by default, so that's fine. Fuel pumps, for the time being, they are off. So this is why you have pressure lighted. This is the APU taking some fuel, so this pump is automatically on. Otherwise, there is no light. Anti-ice, they are all on automatic, not off, but automatic. And we come to the lights panel right there. Beacon light off, nav light is on, and logo light, if it's night or dark, you can put it on. Then that's it. Runway turn off, taxi light and strobe lights are off. Coming to the air conditioning, we make sure we have equipment cooling to automatic as per is on for the passenger. This is the air they are getting in the cabin. Then we have the recirculation fan on. Cabin temperature is 12 o'clock, which is automatic. Packs are on, and the trimmer is on. Now you have everything on automatic. Engines bleed remain on, and the APU bleed is automatic on this aircraft, so you don't need to switch it on or off for engine start. Everything is automatic. Pressurization, we are going to use everything on automatic for the outflow valves. So basically, you just check that there is no lights, and the right wiper is off. Good. Now if we go to the mode control panel, what you want to do is make sure you have the pilot flying, flight director turned on. So I'm going to be the pilot flying. So I'm going to put my flight director on. And then the second flight director to be on is the pilot monitoring. So this is my first officer. And then we make sure the auto throttle is armed. Normally it stays armed on the 777 all the time. So that switch will never be put to off unless you have an engine failure or some other conditions where the QRH asks you to turn it off. Then what we are going to do here is set the runway heading. So we know that we are departing runway 22 today. So the heading is 224, and we will leave 10,000 here. This is as a reminder that we haven't set anything. So some company will tell you to put already some values. But if you do that, the risk is that you miss the clearance, and then you're like, okay, are we being clear to 9,000, or is that something you preset? So different airlines, different procedures, just to set something that doesn't make really sense. If I put like 10,400 now, this is not an altitude you're expecting with a clearance. So then at least when you read your MCP, you will say, something seems to be wrong here. I don't have the right number. So that's something you want to do. Now, as you can see, time to align 0, so I can go into my FMC, and I have to enter the inertial position, okay? So we are at 777-300, we have the correct engine, and we have the correct and active database. That's important as well to check. Then we go to position in it, and we have the reference airport. I'm going to type in Geneva, just to have the coordinate, which looks correct with my GPS coordinate. This is the actual reference airport point. This is the last position of the FMC before it was turned off, and this is the actual GPS position. So I want to take the most precise position, which is the GPS position. If you go to the next page, you're going to have some information about the actual GPS position and FMC positions. So what we want to do here, simply take the GPS position and put it right there, and that will basically initialize your IRSs, your ADIRUs. Good. So now that this is done, we have done the first part here. We are going to check at our cockpit right here. And what we want to do is auto brake to RTO. We can set anything we want for the map display. Personally, what I like to do is station, airport, and the data. The data will give you ETA and some more information about your flight plan. And usually what I'll do as well, I set it on my first officer. If he's doing the walk around, then everything is set. Traffic, just push traffic. So you have already the traffic armed here whenever we have traffic enabled. Good. Then the lightning today, we are in VMC and during daylight, so we don't need to set any cockpit light. I would set the parking brake, and here, as you can see, when we start the 777, we have the transponder already on, which will not be the case. So I just turn it off right now and put like 2000. Good. So here we go. Cockpit preparation here is not too bad. I'm not going to make a complete and very precise video. What I want you to do, guys, is to be able to fly correctly the 777 here without going too much into details, as I don't want it to take too much time. So now what we're going to do is a circuits pattern. As I said, something we want to fly outbound, out of runway 22 in Geneva, then turn left on downwind, and then fly, let's say, a 10 miles final for the ILS runway 22. So in order to do that, the best way, if you have FSiPanel Advanced Edition, is just to request FSiPanel to program everything for you. So let me start FSiPanel and I'll show you that now. Here we go in FSiPanel, just been started. We can see the PMDG777 has been detected. That's correct. We want to fly out of runway 22. As the wind is for runway 22, we can see 2407 knots, 17 degrees, 1012, and temporary showers of rain. So I'm going to select runway 22. And now for this traffic pattern, what we need to do is go to select fix, and we are going to use this beta feature. So today we are going to choose left-hand pattern. So if I click on left-hand pattern, I get here a layout of what we are going to expect. Here we can customize this pattern as we wish. Straight out distance, then how many miles you want to go laterally to the runway, that's Y, and finally your final distance. So today in Geneva we have some obstacles, we have some terrain, so we have to be very careful what we select. So departing out of runway 22, we are going to turn left, and here we have some terrain. Let me show you on the chart. So this is Geneva Airport. We are departing runway 22. Then we can basically fly straight for 5 miles. That's fine. We don't need to go up to 9.5 miles unless you want to do a longer flight. We don't really need to. So I think 5 miles in the X distance is fine. And then we are turning left, and we don't want to go too close to the Salève. This is called the Salève, and you can see that we have a peak here at 7,600 feet. So either we have to climb above it, or the best thing to do is to stay here above the city and fly just close to the airport. So what we will do is change the Y distance to 4 nautical miles. So I just click here and select 4. So now this distance will be 4 nautical miles. And then let's have a look at our approach. We would like to have, we don't need to go for a 17 miles final. This is a very long approach in Geneva over the lake. But why don't we join the final at Golf 808, for example, which is 4,000 feet, and we still have 8 miles to run on our ILS. So what I could choose for the Z distance is like 10 nautical miles, so we're gonna have an easy setup. So I will click here and select 10 miles. Altitude 5,000, that's fine. So we are all good to go. Now, when I click validate, FSiPanel will prepare my whole aircraft. And I'm just gonna have to check my performance. So let's give it a shot, click validate. All right, so now in the aircraft, everything is happening on the right-hand side, on the first officer side. You can see FSiPanel is typing on the FMC. And what FSiPanel is doing now is computing your traffic pattern. So let's have a look at that. We can see the runway now 22 has been will be selected. And now the coordinates for every waypoint required for the patterns are inserted. Again, this is not a visual traffic pattern. This is to be used in VMC or in IMC if you know what you are doing. This is just for training purposes. In real life, if you want to fly a traffic pattern, this is visual, 1,500 feet, stay close to the airport, and this is not what we are doing today. All right, so as you can see now, sorry, I moved the switch. We have the pattern. Let me put that to 20 miles. We have our pattern here, so we put 5 miles, 4 miles here, downwind, 10 nautical miles, and we have 10 nautical miles, and now we just have to do the ILS. So FSiPanel is telling us now on the left top of your screen, select the approach, execute, and check the routing. So basically now I'm already on the arrival page. I just need to select what kind of approach I want to do. Maybe you want to practice an RNAV 22 or an ILS 22. Today we are going for the ILS 22. Execute, and remember we said Golf 508 is the point to connect. So now we are just going to connect the 808 to the last waypoint created by FSiPanel, and that will give us the perfect circuit. Make sure you're not selecting a point which is farther down, but toward your landing runway. Then execute, and we have our pattern. Now click here to acknowledge, and FSiPanel will continue with the setup. So let's see what's happening now. 0 fuel weight will be entered for us, some reserve. We're going to have the cruising altitude at 5,000 feet, flaps 5 for departure, and now FSiPanel is setting a default thrust setting and takeoff performance, which works for most of the airport. If you want to just fly, just go ahead and fly it like this. But if you want to be very precise, the best thing to do is just to compute that again to make sure you have the correct figures. Those figures inserted here should work on a 777 runway, especially if you have a light aircraft. But even though this is the case, I'm going to do the computation with you to make sure we are right. So now if we look into our cockpit, what has been done. So we have LNAV, VNAV, we have the V2 speed inserted, we have everything set by FSiPanel. 5,000 feet is our altitude, now it's been set by FSiPanel. So basically you're ready to start, and the only thing we will do now is cross-check our performance. So for that I'm going to use the AFB, and I'm going to put Geneva runway 22, and for the flaps config we are going to use, let's try import from aircraft. Flaps, we want to use flaps 5. Even if I go optimum, it should give us flaps 5, so leave it to optimum. Rating optimum, anti-ice config off, aircraft config automatic. Then we have the weight, we said 220 tons, so that's correct. We are going to import the weather, and we can click on calculate, and you can see takeoff 243. So let's do for that N1 limit. So we go into the init thrust limit, takeoff 2, and assume cell temperature is 43. Here we go. 88.6, that's fine, that's correct. Then we go to takeoff, and we are using flaps 5, and the speed should be 146, 150, 156. So flaps 5, 146, 150, 156, 156. Now we have corrected our speed, we are sure that we are good. If you go to next page here, FSiPanel will not set any kind of a nose abatement procedure. In Geneva we have a nose abatement procedure, so we got the thrust reduction at 1,500 feet, that's correct, and we start acceleration at 3,000 feet. So we can set that in the box, and basically everything has been set, we are ready to go. So now that everything is set, we can prepare our flight and depart for this short circuit. So we are going to use real procedures, and let's do the circuit. All right, so we are ready to request our clearance, and we got it. And we need now to request ground staff clearance to pressurize the hydraulic. Okay, let's have a look at the aircraft here.
Hello Captain, we are ready for pushback.
Okay, we are ready for pushback. So now what's going to happen? We ask our ground staff, can we pressurize hydraulic? And they will come with the tow bar or the tow truck to push the aircraft. So it's going to be very complicated for them, very dangerous in fact, if you pressurize and then suddenly you have a movement into your nose wheel steering. Imagine, look at this tire.
Torture check completed, bypass pin inserted.
So the bypass pin has been inserted, so now basically they prevent any movement from your nose wheel steering, and they will tell you now that you are clear to pressurize hydraulic. So now we can go ahead and do our before start procedure. So what we will do here, tell your passengers that we're about to start, and as well your cabin crew, so seatbelt goes on, beacon light goes on, and now we need to pressurize hydraulic. We got the clearance, so we start with the right electrical auto pump, right electrical to auto, and wait for the fault pump, fault light, sorry, to go off. Once this is done, we can continue. This is to prevent any fluid transfer to go in between the tanks. Now we are going to pressurize center 1 and center 2 electrical hydraulic, And we have lights off on the Charlie 1, Center 1 and Center 2. Fault light might stay on. This is due to load shedding. It's completely normal. Then we'll go to the left electrical pump, auto, and finally, once the light is off, we can go with the air demand, C1 and C2, Center 1 and Center 2, and our hydraulic panel is set. Now we go to the fuel. We basically put the fuel pumps on to any press light. The left pump forward here is already, the light is off because of the APU, but we press it. So basically you just clear all the lights here. And the center pumps, they are off. If we go into our synoptic page, into the fuel page here, you will see that we have no fuel in the center tank, and this is the reason why the pressure light was not on in the overhead panel. If you have enough fuel here, then you will gonna have the press light, and you need to turn on the center pumps. So now we have done this, we have tell our cabin crew, we just need to tell ATC that we're about to start. And for that, we are simply going to set our transponder code, of course, as per the clearance. And we will go to altitude reporting off, the first segment here, alt reporting off. That's good enough. Now ATC will receive our information on ground. Perfect. So this is done, and now we can have a look at the checklist. So here we bring the checklist, and let's have a look. Flight deck door is closed and locked. Passenger signs on. MCP V2, I have it here, 156. Heading 133, 224, and 133, 133, so that's correct. And the altitude, 5,000 feet set. Takeoff speed, V1, 146, V rotate, 150, V2, 156. CDO pre-flight completed. Trim, we need 4.75 unit. So here you're gonna have the trim band, and if you want to make sure that you are at 475, you can go as well here under the flight control, and you're gonna have the stab trim right there. So 475 set. Continue the checklist. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed. Beacon light is on. Then before start, checklist complete. Okay, we are ready for push. We are going to do a quick takeoff briefing while we taxi the airplane, as we have a long taxi, so don't worry about that. The idea was not to lose too much time, and the taxi in Geneva is very straightforward. Okay, so we are ready for push. Let's bring GS6 and request our pushback. Continue pushback, and we have been clear for push. Facing east, facing south, runway 22, so facing north, that's fine.
Release parking brakes.
Roger, release parking brake. Brakes off.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
Perfect. Here we go. Beautiful. So here we are leaving Geneva for this very short flight. Aircraft is pushing back. I hope he is turning to the right direction for runway 22. Otherwise, we're gonna have to mitigate. Yeah, it seems to be okay. Now he will turn the aircraft on the other direction. Perfect. All right, now we are about to start our engine. So before start checklist has been done, and basically now the captain will ask the first officer with the engine start. So we put engine here on the display, and we are going to say, for example, call. We're gonna say start right engine. So then first officer will go on the right engine here and go start. There we go. Captain will look at an increase of N2. N was increasing, and we can bring the fuel control to run. Now we have an automatic engine start, so we just monitor what the aircraft is doing. We monitor that the oil pressure is increasing as well. That's important. You can see it right there. And we are looking for the engine start now. Still motoring, as you can see. N2 increasing, and we are waiting for the EGT to increase. This is the limit of the EGT, and once that red line is removed, we can say it's a normal start. Okay, now the light is there. We look at the parameters. 20, around 4 to 500, and 70 stable. We have a good engine start. 246, 247. Perfect. Start engine, start left engine. Same procedure. Left engine, start. N2 increasing. N1 increasing. All pressure is there.
Set parking brakes.
Parking brake set.
Your confirmation for good engine start.
Roger. I'll tell him already that it can disconnect.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
All right. We are waiting for the fuel flow. Then we're gonna have ignition, and we will see the EGT rising. Here we go. So now, as we are doing the auto start, everything will be done by the system EEC. So if you have any hot start, then it will be automatically motoring and turning the fuel off. So that's very nice. Again, we are looking at the parameter. Everything looks good here. So we have 2 good engine start. Perfect. So now we can go with the before taxi procedure.
Tow truck disconnected. Light has been removed.
So before taxi, what are we going to do?
Left is clear, right is clear.
APU is not required anymore, so we can turn the APU off. Then, do we need anti-ice? So here, if the temperature is 10 degrees or below and we have visible moisture, rain, and the temperature is at 10 or below, we will switch the engine anti-ice to on. Now they can stay on auto, so it's as required. Now we check that the guys are away from the aircraft, and we are going to request the flaps. So the captain will say set flaps 5, flaps 5. So we are moving the flaps to 5, and once the flaps are moving, we can do the flight control check. So let's bring the flight control page, and we can go ahead with the flight control check. So full left, centered, full right, centered, full down, centered, full up, centered, and stay with me with the rudder. Rudder, full left, center, full right, centered. All right, flight control checked. Don't need that here, sorry about that. And now what we are going to do is call the checklist. So when I call the checklist, usually it's a good idea to look at the recall. We only have TCAS. So if we recall, this is expected, and we leave it on as a reminder that we would need to turn the TCAS on before landing at the runway. Fine, so before taxi checklist, please anti-ice as required, recall is checked, auto brake RTO, flight control checked, and ground equipment is clear. Before taxi checklist completed. Alright, we are ready for taxi. FSiPanel 001 ready for taxi, and we get our clearance via inner link 5 to the holding point runway 22. So basically very straightforward. We go here, here, and here. So easy. Lights on, so we turn runway, turn off, and the taxi light on. So the aircraft now is ready to taxi. She's beautiful. Alright, so let's go, taxi. Brakes off, and off we go. So she's not too heavy today, so we don't need too much thrust to start moving, as you can see. And we are looking at a speed of around 10 to 15 knots, as we are still on the main apron, so we don't want to taxi too fast. Then we have company policy at most airline, maximum speed on taxiways is anyway 30 knots. So if you go above 30 knots, then you're gonna get a very nice coffee with the fleet chief, and you're gonna have to explain why you were taxiing so fast. At least most airlines have these policies. Alright, so we are coming to link 5 here. So we've been clear. Inner link 5, taxiway Alpha to the holding point runway 22. So here we go, turning onto link 5. After link 5, we are going to turn right here on the outer, which is Alpha, and that will bring us all the way to our takeoff runway. Here we go. Okay, let's do a quick recap on the takeoff briefing. So it's gonna be a left-hand seat takeoff. Animal functions below V1. I will call stop or continue. If my call is stop, I will immediately and simultaneously disconnect the auto throttle, close the thrust lever, extend the speed brake, and apply manual full reversers, monitoring the auto brake, which is on RTO, and applying manual braking if required, bearing in mind the wind direction. The wind is in the axis, so we can just stop on the runway center line. By the way, cabin ready, checked. Once the aircraft comes to a complete stop, I will set the parking brake and I will call attention crew at station. Then we monitor the actions together. We check if we have any QRH actions or any memory items, and we decide if we have to evacuate or if we can taxi the aircraft back to the gate, monitoring as well the brake temperature. We are quite light, so it's not a big issue today normally. So if my call is continue, no actions below 400 feet except positive rate gear up. You cancel any warning, any light, please, so we have a clear cockpit. And at 400 feet, we'll make sure we go heading track. So we select heading track 224, and we fly on the runway track to 9.5 miles, left turn towards Saint-Pré. We climb to MSA, 7,000 feet, and then we'll do all the checklist work, QRH if applicable, and Geneva is a good airport. We can come back for visual approach or ILS approaches. We are below max landing weight, and that's about it. And your actions, please make sure you monitor what I'm doing on ground, call 60 knots, and then once the aircraft is stopped on the runway, inform ATC. Any questions? If they have no question, then we say we are clear to go. All right, so we are approaching runway 22 here. Everything looks good. So TCAS off. And now we are going to do the lineup procedure. So let's call the before takeoff checklist. Flaps 5, that's fine. So we just say before takeoff checklist completed. Here we go, we are pushing the runway. And FSI 001 clear for lineup and takeoff runway 22. Clear lineup and takeoff. So as we have been cleared for takeoff, I can set the landing lights on already. I will set the strobe light on already. So this is the lights you want to set. Then I'm pilot flying. I can decide whether I want weather or terrain. So I decide to go weather. So my first officer will select terrain on his side. Right there. And we need to tell ATC that we are lining up the runway, remember? So this is our TCAS. And this is why we have as well this nice reminder here. So I'm going to set the TCAS to TARA. Here we go. And on the PA, my first officer will say, cabin crew, take your seat for takeoff. All right, so everything is done. Runway is identified. What we check now is that our LNAV track looks correct. If you are on the wrong runway, then something is wrong right in front of you. So here, everything looks good. We have TOGA, LNAV, VNAV, runway identified. The heading looks good. And we are ready to go. Perfect. Okay, so let's go for takeoff. So I will start the timer here, and we want to go at around 55% N1. Check that it's stable, and then TOGA. Set takeoff thrust. Thrust ref, checked.
80 knots.
Checked. Hold.
V1.
Rotate.
Rotate.
Positive rate of climb.
Gear up. LNAV. LNAV is engaged. Perfect. Let's put autopilot so we can see what is happening with that circuit. So thrust reft, LNAV, VNAV speed. The next thing you're expecting is 1500 feet. We're gonna have the thrust reductions from takeoff, the rated takeoff 2 to the climb thrust. So let's see that happening now. And climb 2. Remember we said 3000 feet AGL for the acceleration, so Geneva is at 1400. So that's gonna be at 4500. We have a lot of chance that we'll reach VNAV alt before, VNAV path in fact. Let's see that. 1000 to level off. And the aircraft goes to VNAV path. But the speed is still at Bug 5. Now 4500 feet. Acceleration, the speed bug went to 240 knots. And we are turning now for a pattern. So I have Bug 5, positive trend vectors toward Bug 1, flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1. And I'm going to turn the heading already for downwind, which is 044 to save some time. As everything goes quick. And up, flaps up. Speed check, flaps up. Flaps up. Yes. After takeoff items, we will turn off taxi lights. And that's about it on the 777. Then we can go ahead and call the checklist. After takeoff, checklist completed. Perfect. Let's do our briefing. So we are going for an ILS runway 22. Look at this. So Geneva, this is going to be a very short flight. So this is the Salève I told you before, so this is why we don't want to go too close. And now we are on downwind. So let's do a quick briefing. We are going for the ILS runway 22. Okay, so we want arrival, approach, ILS 22. Here we go. So basically MSA 7,000 feet. We are coming from Golf 808, 10 miles. Inbound track 224, 4,000 feet will be good enough. We're going to have a 3 degrees descent. Minimum is 1565. So how to set the minimum here? We are going to lose a lot of time. So what I will do, I will chill a little bit. I will go on the FIS control on. FIS, and I will set my minimum right there to barrow, minimum reset, and I want 1565. Here we go, and then I can just make sure that FIS control goes off. So this is a way to set your minimum. We are going to set our approach speed with flaps 30, 140, so I'm going to have 145, and I will set auto brake to 2. On the init ref, I can see as well that everything looks good here, so we are going to fly the ILS approach. Now she's already telling me that I had to reset my MCP altitude, so for that I can wait a little bit. So we have briefed everything. In case of misapproach, we climb straight ahead to 7,000, and then at 9.5 miles deliver turn left to intercept and follow radial 037 Chambéry to Saint-Pré. So what we could do is just put Chambéry 037, and that should give us the track to Saint-Pré. Perfect. Landing performance en route airport is Geneva. Landing on runway 22, the weight we import from the aircraft, we are going for flaps 30 and anti-ice off. We're gonna put 5 knots of additional. Auto brake 2, no credit, that's good enough. Import the weather and calculate 144, 149. So this is why she's giving me this. Let's see. VRF plus 5, VRF 144. Yeah, 139 plus 5, that's 144, correct. Good. Now the aircraft is reducing the speed to up as we are turning already to the left. So we are going to do the checklist, descent checklist. Recall. Checked. Notes, nothing, auto brake is true. Landing data, VREF is 140 and minimum is 1565. Checked. And we are clear for the approach FSiPanel 001. So 4,000 feet is the next clearance altitude, so I'm going to give 4,000 feet right there to the aircraft. And I will set my inbound heading. 224 to make it very easy. Now the aircraft wants to slow down, so I'm going to give, as you can see, we are staying at up, so I will go flaps 1. Speed check, flaps 1. And now the aircraft will reduce the speed toward bug 1. And approach briefing is complete. Descent checklist complete. And please do the approach checklist, altimeter 1012. We didn't change, so approach checklist completed. Now we can go flaps 5. Speed check, flaps 5. And as you can see, the aircraft is slowing down, turning on final. If you press approach here, you can see as well your glide slope. And now we can just arm our approach. So approach, localizer was captured, and you see that we are still in VNAV path. When glide slope is captured, then the window will open. Right now the FMC is taking care of your speed. And once you go onto the glide slope, when you see glide slope captured right there, then the window will open and you will be responsible for your speed. So let's see that happening now. We have the glide slope which is right there. So we should get the glide slope captured. Here I'm a bit, you see what's happening here? She doesn't capture, so I just have to mitigate. Not a big deal. Just select a lower altitude, select vertical speed, and go and grab your glide slope. Normally you do a strike if you use VNAV. Here it didn't work, so just mitigate, not a big deal. Lower altitude or high altitude, but lower altitude is always better. 1,000 feet above the airfield, and
2,500.
Then you can go ahead and catch your glide slope. Runway is in sight, perfect. Glide slope will be captured. Now we see the glide slope. Glide slope captured, 7,000 feet for missed approach. Oh, the mouse is giving me a lot of problem today. Here we go, and 2,000 feet. We can go now, gear down. Set the lights on. Arm the speed brake. And we can tell cabin crew, take your seat for landing. We have cabin ready already. Flaps 20. Reduce the speed to Bug 20. Maximum speed for flaps 30 is 180 knots. We are below. Speed check, flaps 30. Land 3 flare arm. Checked. Now we set our approach speed, 145. And once you see the flaps at 30, you can call for landing checklist. And in IMC, 1000 feet AGL to be stabilized. In VMC, 500 feet. Again, that depends on the airline. So now we are fully configured, 1000 feet stable. We can continue landing checklist. Landing checklist completed. Good. Here we go. You see how easily you can fly a traffic pattern. Again, not a real traffic pattern. This is just that you can practice any kind of approach quickly. And you can start this as well with engine running. So you start your 777 on the engine on the runway, engine's running, and FSiPanel will set everything, and you basically just have to hit toga and fly the exact same circuit pattern that we've done. All right, so let's concentrate on the landing here. We are reaching 500 feet, so I'll disconnect now the autopilot. There is a little bit of wind shear here. So let's go quickly down, not too much, maximum 1000 feet per minute. Otherwise we get a sink rate, which we don't want to see, so it's better to maintain 1000 feet per minute maximum and then go back to your profile. Continue landing.
100, 50, 30, 20, 10.
Speed brake up. Reverse was normal. Now we monitor the deceleration, everything looks good. We are going to take the second to the left. So I'm going to use my brake to disconnect the auto brake. And my first officer would tell me auto brake disarm, 60 knots, out of reverse. And we did it. Very short circuit, everything looks good. And now we can vacate our runway. And we are going to park the aircraft at the same location as we departed. So let's bring GS6 and tell gate 16 no, and we are going to take Swissport. Perfect. So we are going via the link 4. So now we can do the after landing. So after landing, retract the speed brake. Usually that's the sign for the first officer to start the after landing. Then the flaps can go up. Then if we go up here, if you have a long taxi, you may delay the APU start. If not, if you have a short taxi or you plan to have single engine taxi in, then just start the APU. Because on the 777 you will be able to do single engine taxi in. So if you plan to do that, 3 minutes, and make sure your APU is running, and then you'll be able to shut down engine number 2. So here we start the APU, we continue here, and we have a look at the lights. So we don't need any more the landing lights, so landing lights can go off. Now you can see that runway turn off and taxi lights are on. The strobe we don't need. Runway turn off, this is company policy. Some people, I always let everything on, better visibility. And now we go down here. What we want to do here is make sure you remove weather and terrain. So here I have the weather working, so I'm going to remove the weather, and here remove the terrain. So that looks good now. Continue down here, we have the auto brake off. Here we check just that we have flaps and speed brake retracted. We continue our logic down, and we are going to our transponder. And here again, remember, we are just going for the altitude reporting off, like this. And basically now you've done your after landing. So if you use FSiPanel Advanced Edition, you can call for the flow, and then everything will be done for you while you have head up and you're taxiing your airplane. So you just call the after landing flow, and everything will be done. Okay, so now we are going for our parking. So it took us like 13 minutes flight. Not too bad. And the parking position is right there. Stand 16. Okay, this is the inner. So beautiful. And stand 16 will be where we departed. So I guess that's gonna be the next one here to the right. Yeah? And it's available for us. That's perfect. Okay, let's have a look now that we don't miss it. Taxi light off, please. So now we turn off the taxi light and I can start my right turn. Looks like we are nicely established. Localizer captured, the glide slope captured, and slightly here to the right. And stop. Parking brake set. Here we go. And now we can go for the shutdown procedure. So here we have to make sure that we have established some AC. It can be the APU if the APU is running. So that's good. If you look into your electrical, you can see right now that the APU is ready to power the aircraft. Sometimes you might have APU not working, so in that case make sure you request ground staff to give you the external power before you shut down the engine. So make sure engines, APU are running. Now we can basically switch off the engines. Alright, so the captain will switch off the engine. Now you can see that there is a spool down, that's perfect. We will tell the cabin crew to disarm the doors, and then we can go ahead and do the beacon light off, seatbelt sign, sorry, off, and again we are going for the logic from the hydraulic panels. So we start here again with the center 1 and 2 air demand off, left electrical demand pump selector off, center 1 and center 2 electrical pump off, and finally the last one is the right electrical demand pump off. Done for the hydraulic. Same thing with the fuel pumps. Even though my APU is running, if I turn off the pump, I'm not gonna get the pressure light because the APU is still running, but the other light will come on. So I make sure that I turn off all the fuel pumps. That's done. My beacon light is off, and finally flight director off, and don't forget to turn off your transponder. And basically that's about it. So once this is done, we can say we have completed our flight, and we can just bring the shutdown flow. Hydraulic panel is set, fuel pumps are off, the flaps are up, parking brake is set, fuel control switch cut off, and the weather radar is off. Shutdown checklist completed. And now we can tell our GS6, please request deboarding. Here we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question or comment, please drop it in the section down below. Thank you for watching, and I see you very soon for another video. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye bye.